Okay, so we are adding to our notes from last time. So these notes are going to be kind of long. Some of you might even be moving on to the second page and you'll have to staple them together because it's 2 days together on the same subject. So, again, we did this transversal where we started with a triangle. And once we rotated it once, what shape did we get when we rotated about at this midpoint? You know what I find interesting? Actually, every class someone said rhombus, which is true if our triangle is an equilateral. Not true if we have a different size triangle, like, you know, a scaling triangle. Okay? But no matter what type of triangle we have, we rotate it once, what shape do we get? Parallelogram. And we proved before that this was a parallelogram because since it is a congruent triangle, their altitudes are congruent. And as long as the supporting beams are congruent, the ceiling and the floor are parallel. Then we rotated it a third time, maybe. There we go. And with 3 triangles, what shape did it create? Trapezoid. Good. And the properties of a trapezoid, again, are we have an opposite sides are parallel, but we only have 1 pair this time. And we can prove that by the altitudes. Okay. And then we went crazy last time and did a tessellation over and over for 3 rows. And we're going to actually be looking at that, excuse me, today to find some interesting connections about the angles. So we refreshed what vertical angles were. Whenever we have 2 lines or segments intersecting each other, opposite angles are vertical angles, and we know vertical angles are, say it, Prema? Congruent, thanks. I like the word C, congruent. I don't like the phrase the same. I want to hear congruent. No matter where our vertical angles are, even if we did these vertical angles, they're both green, right? So they are congruent. Both blue, so they're congruent. Okay? And then last time, we added a new vocabulary phrase called exterior angles. And we've drawn it, and we've defined it, and that's about as far as we got, looks like. So everyone has crayons. If you haven't already, it looks like many of you have shaded one. Pick one of the triangles like I've done here and shade it. Looks like some of you already have done it. So if you already have one triangle shaded, you're good. Now the exterior is when you take one side of the triangle and you extend it. The exterior angle is this angle out here. And we talked about, if you look actually at their colors, the exterior angle is blue and red, but the adjacent angle is what color? Green. So we get all 3 colors from the triangle, which means the adjacent angle plus the exterior angle are what type of angles together? Supplementary, yes. They add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so the adjacent angle plus the extended angle is supplementary, and we can see that right here too, because they are linear. It forms a linear pair. Now, I believe that's where we ended, so we didn't get to talk about these 2 angles. They have a name. Okay, so time to pick up your pencil and add to the notes. Okay, the other 2 angles inside the triangle are called remote interior angles. Remote interior angles. All the vocabulary phrases we're talking about today actually make sense. Remote, if you're in a remote place in the wilderness, are you going to be like close to civilization? No. You're way far away. And interior means inside, right? So remote interior angles, let me get to what I want here. There we go. Yeah, there are the 2 angles in the triangle that are not adjacent. Remember this guy? This is the adjacent one. Not adjacent to the exterior angle. So they are the two angles in the triangle not adjacent to the exterior angle. So this guy's our exterior. And adjacent. Adjacent means neighboring, sharing a wall. The other two angles inside the triangle are called remote interior angles. Okay, so I'm going to do a double screen here, and we're going to look for, nope, I lied, we're not doing double screen yet. We have four types of angles that have a special relationship when we have what's called a transversal. Does anyone know what a transversal is? Okay, then another vocabulary word. Transversal. Okay, a transversal is a line that intersects two or more other lines. Transversal is a line that intersects two or more other lines. Let's put that right there. And when the transversal goes through a pair of parallel lines, we get lots of interesting relationships that happen. So with your ruler, would you draw, please, two parallel lines? And don't make this itty-bitty. We're actually going to be using this a lot. So find one, go to the next line down. You know how you have that blue line on your line paper? Okay, draw a line across on the blue lines, go down to the next one so they're spaced out and they're actually parallel using a ruler. And then a transversal is going to cut through those. Great, now I want you to count up how many angles did we create by doing that. And hold up in the air. How many angles do you see? How many angles? I'm seeing 4, I'm seeing 6, I'm seeing 8. Which one is it? Tristan, come back in, I see you. Oh, I saw you sitting out there. Okay, there should be 8. Okay, we're going to then label them with numbers. It'll probably be the easiest way. Now make sure you label yours the same way I label mine, because we're going to be relating them to different angles, and the order of the numbers is important. So I'm going to go 1, 2, from left to right. Starting at the left again, 3, 4. Starting at the left, 5, 6. And starting at the left, 7, 8. Okay, the first type of angles are called corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. These words actually make sense. Can anyone use the word corresponding in a sentence that would show us what corresponding means? Okay, that works a little bit, Tristan. He said, okay, a red truck corresponds to a fire truck. Why? Because they have something in common, right? And the location of it is in common, because the exterior of the red truck and the exterior of the fire truck are both red. Yeah? Okay, that'll work. Okay, so corresponding angles correspond to the same place of the intersection. Corresponding angles correspond to the same place of the intersection. So that's why I said the exterior of the red truck and the exterior of the fire truck. That's the same location. It's not on the inside, it's not on the tire, it's the exterior. So on ours, now I'm going to be marking this diagram up a lot. Don't do it because yours will be messy because I can erase mine. So just watch for a sec. If I select angle 1, notice it is the top left of the intersection. Is there another angle that corresponds to that same location, top left? Dave? Is that top left? Angle 5. Do you agree those are both top left? So those are corresponding angles. And an abbreviation is CA. So we're going to list a bunch of corresponding angles. You just told me angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. They correspond to the same place of the intersection. Okay, let's find another pair. Say I choose angle 3. Show up in the air, please. What angle corresponds to the same place of the intersection as angle 3? Yes, 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 yes. Not 5, no. 3, yes, no, yes. It would be angle 7, right? Angle 3 is the bottom left, so bottom left being angle 7. Okay, next one. What if I chose angle 2? Show me, please. What would be the corresponding angle to angle 2? Angle 2, there you go. Loose. Yes, good. We get 6, right? Top right and top right. And finally, angle 4, bottom right, would correspond to which angle? Yep, good. Angle 8. Thanks for showing me. Okay, we're going to leave a line of space because we need to fill in something underneath all these. But in the margin, if you would just draw yourself a quick picture to remember what corresponding are. So just little parallel lines, a transverse. So maybe use one of the crayons to show like this top left angle and this top left angle are corresponding. Just in the margin so you have something to look at. Raul, take the hood off, please. Untie it so you can see. Oh, then luckily your jacket has a zipper so you can get out. Yes, it does. Okay, the next set of angles are called... I got it. Then undo it. Alternate interior angles. Please write that down. Alternate interior angles. Remember, skip a line. I need a line. We're going to go back in at the end and add something in there. Alternate interior angles. The abbreviation is AI or AIA. Alternate, or you can do AI. Okay, what is a synonym for the word alternate? I'm going to say different necessarily. Phoenix? Oh, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, who said that? Tristan? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Opposite. So when we say alternate, we're going to think in our head opposite. So if I say top, what's the opposite of top? Bottom. If I say right, this is your right. What's the opposite of right? Left. Okay? And then what does interior mean? Inside. So for us, alternate interior angles will be opposite angles. So if it's right, then the opposite would be left. If it was top, then the opposite would be bottom. And they'll be inside the parallel lines. Opposite angles, right and left, top and bottom, inside the parallel lines. Okay, now I like to think of these parallel lines as, again, don't draw this because I'm able to delete them, and yours will get super messy if you keep doing everything on top of the old stuff. So, take those away. I like to think of my parallel lines like as a tube, like water coming out of a hose or something. That way you can see what's on the inside. So, inside I have 3. What's another interior that's opposite? It has to be inside. So if I were saying 2, that's outside. It would be 6. Yeah, because 3 is top left. So alternate of top left is bottom right. Okay, so those would be alternate interior. So let's write that down. We have angle, oh, I can't see that number anymore. 3 and angle 6. Angle 3, angle 6. Is there another pair of alternate interior? Yeah. I'll say it again, please.
4 and 5.
Good. 4 is top right. 5 is bottom left. So yes. Angle 4 and angle 5. So again, let's draw ourselves a little picture in the margin to show what those mean. Get a crayon and highlight. So if I do the top left, then the bottom right inside the parallels. Skip a line because we're going to add something in later. Our third one is another alternate, but instead of interior, it's going to be exterior. Exactly. Alternate exterior angles. Okay, so we can sum this up really quick. Alternate, we think opposite. Exterior, we think outside. Opposite and outside of the parallels. Outside the parallel lines. That's the symbol for parallel. Get used to that, those 2 vertical lines. So AEA, or sometimes just AE, or AEA, alternate exterior angles. So again, we're going to go back to our picture and look for alternate exterior angles. I really like using the tube analogy so that we can see inside the tube, outside the tube. So please find 2 and, good, you guys are already on top of this. 2 and 7, yep, and then what's the other pair going to be? 1 and 8, great, good job. So let's write those down. Angles 2 and angle 7, angle 1 and angle 8. And they do pair up just like that. And then again, just a little picture to remind yourself what that means. If I chose top right outside, I would choose bottom left outside. And then once again, skip a line. We have 1 more to do, but make sure you're leaving a line so we can go back up and fill one thing in a minute. The last one is my favorite, CIA. CIA stands for, it does actually, but not in what we're doing today. Another abbreviation for CIA is corresponding. I use correspondence, even I get confused. Consecutive is the word I need. So don't get confused with CA. CA is corresponding angles. This is consecutive interior angles. Consecutive interior angles. Yep, CIA. Again, these words make sense. Interior we know is inside. If I was to ask you to give me 3 consecutive integers, what would you say? 3, 4, 5. What's another set of 3 consecutive integers? 4, 5, 6, or 6, 7, 8. So what do they all have in common? What tells us they are consecutive? One after the other. They go in order. All of these numbers are neighbors when we list them out, right? They're neighbors. So for our angles, consecutive interior angles are going to be 2 neighboring angles, again, inside, because we have that word interior, inside the parallel lines. Two neighboring angles inside the parallel lines. So if we come up to the picture, I'm going to erase this really quick. All right. Let's choose, let's start with angle 3. Put up in the air, please, a consecutive interior angle with angle 3. It has to be a neighbor of angle 3. It also has to be inside. Good. I see a lot of people doing 4. I agree with that. Those 2 are neighboring angles. Does 3 have another neighbor? 5. Across the street neighbor. Yeah, it counts. Across the street neighbor. Okay, let's list those. So 3 and 4 and 3 and 5. Angle 3 and angle 4. Also angle 3 and angle 5. Go back up to your picture. I think we have some more CIA angles. Oh, Hakeem, which ones? 5 and 6. Any others? 4 and 6, not 7. 7's outside. These have to be interior. So if you notice, we can just do 4 loops all the way around. There's 4 pairs. So 5 and 6 and 6 and 4. Angles 5 and angle 6. Angle 6 and angle 4. Give yourself a little picture on the side to remember those. The picture I do is 4 loops. Maybe you want to do it with crayons. I like to do 2 one color and then the other 2 a different color so it doesn't get so confusing. You could draw 2 different ones if that helps. Okay, now I'm going to do the side-by-side. And we're going to look at your tessellation that we did earlier. You don't have to redraw this because you already have it on the front side of your notes. And we're going to be looking for these angles inside our tessellation. Okay, so I'm going to take this one and throw it over there, and throw that one to the right. Would you take a crayon and go to your tessellation Take a crayon of a color you have not used yet, and will you find two parallel lines and a transversal like I have done here? Two parallel lines and a transversal. Take a crayon and highlight on your tessellation two parallel lines and a transversal. Mine are highlighted in yellow. Do it dark so that you can see it. And the, did I say translation? I meant, not translation. What's the T word I'm looking for? Transversal, yes. I'm like, translation's not the right one. I said transversal? Good, okay. Okay, we're going to start with, which one was our first one? CA, right? Corresponding angles. Okay, we have our transversal. Corresponding angles. For my top intersection, I'm going to look at my top right. What angle on this intersection corresponds to the top right over here? Guys, correspond means it has the same position. Here I'm picking the top right, so which angle for our lower angle? Sean? Has to correspond to the same place of the intersection.
Top right.
Oh, the bottom's intersection's top right. That one?
Yeah.
Ah, look at those two. What do you notice? Oh, interesting. Okay, what if I did the top left? And I found the corresponding angle, which would also be top left. What do you notice there? You don't highlight these, guys. I'm going to be drawing a lot. Okay? Okay, so stop whatever you've done. All you need to do is draw the parallel. Okay, these are both red and green. Oh, interesting. What if I did the bottom left and the bottom left? What do you notice? Both blue. Oh, interesting. What if I did the bottom right and the bottom right? Remember, these are corresponding. What do you notice? Red and green. Okay, so we just discovered something. I hope you saw a connection. Corresponding angles are... We get the same color. What's the mathematical word that tells us what the angles have in common? Starts with a C. They are congruent. Okay, go back to these notes. Corresponding, I asked you to leave the line for a reason. Oh, some reason I lost this. What does this say here? I'm missing the first one. 1 and 5? Thank you. And angle 5. Corresponding angles. Correspond. Okay. So I asked you to leave the line for a reason, because we're going to write down angle 1 is now congruent to angle 5. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. Write yours down, please. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. And angle 4 is congruent to angle 8. Write it down, please. Corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, the next one. Alternate interior. Alternate, we're thinking opposite. Interior, we're thinking inside. So if I... Oops, it totally went away. I didn't want that. Just want to throw this over there. Yes, I love... What is it, Windows 7 that does that? Sweet. Oh, yes, I'll smooth it over. Is that good? Right there. Okay. And I'm going to take those markings off. Okay. So now we're looking for alternate interior. Alternate interior. So I'm inside the tube, inside parallel lines. If I'm on the top right, what's an alternate interior to top right? Top right. So we go bottom left. What do you notice? Oh, interesting. What if I did the bottom right? What does that go with? Top left. What do you notice? Same colors. Oh, interesting. So, alternate interior angles are congruent. Go to your paper. We're going to write. We only had 2 pairs. We're going to say that they're congruent. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. Angle 4 is congruent to angle 5. I'm actually probably going to box these up so they stick off the page a little bit. And box these ones up just to remind us that they are congruent. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. Angle 4 is congruent to angle 5. Okay, now we're looking for alternate exterior. If I just undo my writing here. Alternate exterior, so make sure you're on the outside. On the outside, if I choose top right, what's alternate of top right on the outside? Bottom left. What do you see? Same color, they're both blue, which tells you the angles are congruent. What if I did the bottom right, which is alternate of the top left? What do you notice? They're congruent. So let's go to our paper. I need to grow like 2 inches. That would help me out a little bit. Okay, so angle 2 is congruent to angle 7. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 8. We have one more. What's the last one? Consecutive interior angles. What's the abbreviation for consecutive interior? CIA. So, here's this. It's a little too short. Throw it over. Going to take off those markings. We're looking for consecutive interior. Okay, I need everyone's eyes up here. If I choose this blue angle on the interior, what's a neighbor to that blue angle? Because consecutive means next door. Just the red? The red and green, because together the other angle is red and green combined. So, are these congruent? Are they congruent? No. They would only be congruent if the transversal intersected at a perpendicular angle. So they could be sometimes congruent. But instead of congruency this time, we get all 3 colors, which tells us consecutive interior angles are what type of angles? Supplementary. Don't we get all 3 angles from the triangle? All 3 angles of the triangle add up to 180. And we know if we have angles that sum to 180, they are supplementary. What if we went across the street? Are they still supplementary? Do we still get all 3 colors? Yeah, blue, red, and green, because this angle is red and green together. Here, supplementary. So CIA is not congruent necessarily. It could be if the transversal was perpendicular. But consecutive interior angles, what we're going to write for that one. Oops. Angle 3 plus angle 4 equals 180 degrees. Angle 3 plus angle 5 equals 180 degrees. Angle 5 plus angle 6 equals 180 degrees. And lastly, angle 6 plus angle 4 equals 180 degrees. And the big key on this one is what's the vocabulary word that tells us what these are angles, what their relationship is? Supplementary. Supplementary. So we've actually today discussed 2 sets of supplementary angles. What was the other pair that ended up being supplementary? It's probably on the front side of your notes. What's the other pair that ended up being supplementary? Yeah?
Exterior?
Yes, exterior angles. Come back up to the top. Come on, move. Exterior angles right here. Oops, don't want to do that. Okay, exterior angles are supplementary. Everything else we talked about, that was congruent. Vertical angles are congruent. Corresponding angles, alternate interior and alternate exterior are congruent. You have to know the difference of what is congruent and what is supplementary. For all of these, we started with the phrase, with given information. For us, we were given that we had parallel lines and a transversal. And we said, knowing that they're parallel, all of a sudden we have these angle relationships. Given 2 parallel lines and a transversal, then corresponding angles exist that are congruent. Given 2 parallel lines and a transversal, then alternate interior angles exist and are congruent. Given parallel lines and a transversal, then alternate exterior angles exist and are congruent. And finally, CIA exists and are supplementary. Does anyone know what the reverse statement is called? Oh, because you did CIA backwards? Okay. No, but I like it. Okay? The reverse is when we end with saying they're parallel. We're given stuff about the angles, and then we can prove that they're parallel. That's called a converse. Okay? Converse statement. So write that down, and then we'll be taking a break after this. Statement. Just at the end of your notes. Elementary. Somehow I deleted that. Converse statement. We'll just write one, but there really are many, many converse statements. If you're given 2 corresponding angles, let me make sure I phrase this right. Lots of them, yeah. Given 2 corresponding angles are formed. Shoot, sorry. I just started writing this weird. Given 2 corresponding angles formed by, not take out the R, that's the weird part. Formed by a transversal are congruent So starting backwards, starting with information about the angles, and that we know that they're formed by a transversal, and we know that they're congruent, then the lines are parallel. Okay, that the transversal intersects are parallel. Yeah? We're actually having a break after like 4 more sentences. We're not writing them, you're just going to listen to them. So, the same thing happens to all of the others. We could say, given 2 alternate interior angles are congruent when formed by a transversal, then the lines are parallel. Given 2 alternate exterior angles are congruent, formed by a transversal, then the lines are parallel. And finally, the last one is, if you know you have 2 consecutive interior angles that are supplementary from a transversal, then the lines are parallel. Converse, you start with something different, but you come at the end, you have the same conclusion, right? Your givens and your endings match. Okay, we will take a break right now, and then we'll come back and talk about Star Trek. What? Okay, go get a drink. Don't disturb. All right, who knows this guy? Spock. What does he say? He's Vulcan, right? And he says, goes like this with his hand, and he says, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. Live long and prosper. Live long and prosper.
Okay. So try that with your hand. You done that before? And if I used to practice this, not really. But if you put the other one opposite and then you try to change them at the same time, but they're opposite, it's so hard. It's like scratching your stomach and patting your head at the same time. Okay, are they in the boys' bathroom?
Yeah.
Okay. Hustle back though, within a minute, please. It's so hard. It's like a mental game. Yeah. But there's a reason we're going to talk about Spock. We're moving on to parallelograms. That all of these names we've just gone through can prove properties of parallelograms. So first, would you take your ruler and measure and draw a parallelogram? But when you draw a parallelogram, can I just do it like this? Can the base be that long? What do we know about parallelograms? The opposite sides have to be, yeah, the same. What's a word for the same? Congruent. So you have a ruler, you should be able to measure as close as possible, please. Two congruent sides, and then just connect the end points. Cynthia, would you put that in your bag, please? Is Tristan right behind you? Tristan. A, B, C, D. Guys, we're drawing a parallelogram. There are 5 properties that come out of parallelograms. And again, we can use all the names. We're not going to actually go into the formal proofs today. But we can use all the names, corresponding angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior, etc., that we talked about today to prove, thank you, to prove these properties. So, there's a reason why I gave you, everyone should have during the break gotten a little gray sheet with Spock's hand on it. Parallelogram Spock. Look at my hand, please. There is one relationship about the diagonals of parallelograms. There are 2 relationships about the angles. And there are 2 relationships about the sides. 1 relationship about the diagonals, 2 relationships about the angles, 2 relationships about the sides. Okay, so on your parallelogram Spock, let's fill in some relationships. In the thumb, would you please write diagonal? Diagonals. In the thumb, please write diagonals. And then coming out of the finger, off the tip, we're going to write the relationship. Diagonals bisect each other. We've heard of this word bisect before in the past couple weeks. What does bisect mean? They do cross, but they also split in half, right through the midpoints. So go back to your notes and take your ruler. Let's draw 2 diagonals and mark them. Well, it would have helped if you came back on time, like everyone. Oh, you were about 3-4 minutes later than everyone else. Now, to show that they bisect each other, they're creating 2 congruent sections. So to show congruency, if we say this intersection here is E, we'd mark a tick mark for AE and a tick mark for EC. And where should I do a double tick mark? Yeah, the other ones, BE and ED. So they're going to slice each other right in half. One relationship about the diagonals, 2 about sides, 2 about angles. So go back to parallelogram Spock. The next 2 fingers, let's do sides. Because mine's a Word document, that's how I printed them. You only need 1. Yeah. Sides. Okay, right sides through the top, the 2 fingers. You have it right there. It's right. Here, fill in this, please. Okay. For sides, we have 2 things that come out, and you actually kind of already told me these when I asked you how should we draw a parallelogram. We have 2 pairs of, the first thing that happens, we have 2 pairs of congruent sides. Remember I asked you, can I do the bottom short? And you guys said no. They have to be congruent. Tristan, catch up please. 2 pairs of congruent sides. I'm just going to do the symbol for congruent. I should actually say opposite. So squeeze in the word there, opposite. Oh, it's not going to, oh, it will let me. 2 pairs of opposite congruent sides. Congruent sides. Secondly, we have 2 pairs of opposite parallel sides. Opposite parallel sides. So the symbol for parallel is 2 vertical lines right next to each other. One relationship with the diagonals. 2 relationships about the sides. And 2 of what? What's our last piece? Angles. Okay, so the other 2 fingers put in angles. Okay, we have 2 pairs of opposite angles are going to be congruent. Here's the first one. 2 pairs of opposite congruent angles. I'm just going to draw a little angle symbol. I don't like how that came out. Fix that. Angles. 2 pairs of opposite congruent angles. And the second one is our CIA. What was CIA again? Yeah, consecutive interior angles. CIA angles are supplementary. CIA angles are supplementary. Supplementary. Okay, so we're going to go over to the parallelogram and mark those. So pull out your notes. We just said 2 things about angles. Angle A has what relationship to angle C? Angle C. It's opposite. Angle C. Opposite angles are congruent. So we mark them as congruent. The other pair of opposite angles are also congruent, but I'm going to do a double arc to separate them. Double arc. Okay, if you would find a light-colored crayon, please. I'm going to use a light-colored crayon to mark some CIA angles, corresponding interior angles. So if I start with A, what's a... Ooh, I don't like that color. Let's try that again. I want a yellow. Corresponding angle A consecutive interior angle. What's supplementary to angle A? Yeah, we could just lightly highlight all the way across. Those are supplementary. Also, A to B are supplementary. So I'll just do those two. Those are supplementary. Okay, and then we have two things about sides. Opposite sides are congruent and opposite sides are, guys, it's on your parallelogram spot. Opposite sides are congruent and opposite sides are parallel. So we know how to mark congruent. I'm going to put one tick, actually I'm going to have to do 3 tick marks because I've already used the 1 and the 2. 3 tick marks. And then I'm going to do 4 tick marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. For the opposites. That's how I show congruency. Does anyone know how we have a marking for parallelism? Oh. Okay, Phoenix has his hand up first. Arrows, you agree? Yeah. So, but there is a difference. Like if I give this pair 1 arrow, how many do I give to the other pair? 2 arrows. So after all those markings, it starts getting a little crazy, but it tells you a lot about the quadrilateral. Again, spot. 1 relationship about the diagonals. Diagonals bisect each other. 2 relationships about sides. 2 relationships about the angles. Cool. Right, so our homework tonight will be this pink packet. Let me stop this really quick. You didn't have homework last night.